Hello everyone, this is Sonia Munjal and I welcome you all to my channel Social Minds. Through this video, we are continuing the chapter 6 of History, Towns, Traders and Craftsperson. Now let's take a closer look at three important medieval towns. Surat, which is in Gujarat. Hampi is in Karnataka and Masulipattnam in Andhra Pradesh. Let's start with Hampi. Hampi is located in Krishna Tugabhadra basin, which formed the nucleus of the Vijayanagar Empire, founded in 1336 by two brothers Harihar and Bukka. So this Vijayanagar Empire was founded by these two brothers. As you can see in this map, the dark pink color, this represented the area of Vijayanagar Empire, and in this Vijayanagar Empire, Hampi was at the center place. Hampi was a well fortified city, means it was surrounded by big walls, as it was in the center of Vijayanagar Empire and it was surrounded by the other small kingdoms as well. So in order to protect the Vijayanagar Empire, it made as a fortified city. While constructing the walls of a city, no cementing agent was used. Rather, interlocking technique was used to lock the bricks together, as you can see in this picture. Here no cementing agent was used. The bricks were laid in an interlocking manner which closed the bricks together. Then buildings. The buildings in the royal complex had splendid, great, big arches, as you can see in this picture, and domes like this. The dome means a round shape at the top of the building. So as you can see in this picture, that the top of the building is rounded in shape, so it's called dome. So the buildings, generally the buildings in the royal complex had splendid arches and domes. Then the pillared halls with niche for holding sculpture. Niche is actually a place which hold this sculpture. It's a space in the wall, like a showcase, which generally can be seen in present day houses. Next feature is orchards and pleasure gardens. The gardens were very well planned with sculpture motifs. Motifs means repetitive design, and it can be lotus, as you can see in this picture. It can be an elephant or it can be any other design. It means a motif means a repetitive design of any pattern. Then there were podlers on the walls, like you can see in this picture. Podlers on the walls were also present. Now Hampi is also very important for trading communities. They had trade ties in the market of many big traders had trade ties in the market of Hampi. For example, Moors जो है, this is a collective name used for Muslim merchants. Then Chetis, then agents of European traders such as Portuguese also. They did trade in the market of Hampi. Regarding the culture of Hampi, temples were the central point of all the cultural activities, and here Devdasis, who were known as temple dancers, they performed before the deity, before the nobles, and even masses in the Virupaksha temple. Virupaksha is a form of Shiva. So this temple is actually a Shiva temple. And the festivals of Mahanavami or Navratri was also celebrated. The fall of Hampi. As you can see in this picture, this Vijayanagar Empire was surrounded by the Deccan Sultans, this Barar, Bidar, Golconda, Bijapur, Ahmednagar. So, this Vijayanagar Empire was defeated by all these Deccan Sultan, and finally the Vijayanagar Empire, after defeating by these Deccan Sultan, the city got ruined in 1565. Next important town was Surat. Now there is a question, why people from distant land, from far off land visited Surat? Now there are so many reasons for their visit. The first one reason was Western trade. Surat was the emporium of Western trade. See this map. Here you can see that this Surat was very important for trade, because through Surat it was easy to reach West Asia, through Surat via Gulf of Hormuz. Even Muslim pilgrims could easily go to their holy place to Mecca through Surat. So this is very important location. Then commerce. Surat was cosmopolitan, means a city, a busy city, bustling city, uh, and people of all castes and creeds lived here. The Portuguese, Dutch, and the English had their warehouses and factories here. So the commerce was also very good here. Then the Surat was also famous for their gold lace borders, which is called zari, and this zari was in heavy demand in West Asia, Africa, and Europe. And according to the English chronicler Owen Gatton, who wrote an account of the port in 1689, on average, 100 ships of different countries could be found anchored at the port at any given time. And this clearly shows that how the Surat was an important port town for the commerce purpose or for the trade purpose. Then infrastructure. The city was very good as it had magnificent buildings, eye catching buildings, big buildings, pleasure parks, and numerous rest houses also for the traders. Then the banking system of Surat was very good. The Kathiawad Seth or Mahajans had huge banking houses at Surat. They provided loans for trading. Even in the markets of Cairo, Egypt, Basra in Iraq, and Antwerp in Belgium, the Surat Hundis were honored. Now, what were the Hundis? See, this is the picture of Hundis. Now, Hundi is actually it's a note recording a deposit made by a person. The amount deposited can be claimed in another place by presenting the record of the deposit. In easy language, I can say it's a kind of written promise made by a borrower to a lender. When the borrower promised to pay a specific amount of money by a certain date to the lender. So these hundis were honored in other countries as well, and the traders carried these just a hundi note rather than carrying a huge amount of money with them. Now, reasons for the decline of Surat. Surat was very important port town. It was a busy commercial town. Even then, this Surat declined in the 17th century. And the reason for this is that the loss of market and productivity. because of the decline of the Mughal Empire, because by this time the Mughal Empire was also on the declining stage. So with the decline of the Mughal Empire, Surat also started declining. Then control of the sea routes by the Portuguese. It means that the ships could not sail from Surat easily without the permission of Portuguese rulers. So the sea route was also controlled. Next one, competition from Bombay, where the East India Company shifted its headquarters in 1668. Now, with the growth of East India Company, they opened up the new ports, and Bombay was made as a port town, and even the administrative headquarter was also made by the British East India Company there. After the Bombay, they also made the port towns at Calcutta and Madras. So the Surat started declining. Next medieval town is Masulipatam. Fishing in troubled waters, Masulipatam. And this Masulipatam is also called as Machlipatam. This Masulipatam was important for trading in fish, and it's situated on the delta of Krishna river. Here you can see the location of Masulipatam on the banks, on the delta of the Krishna river in the box. This Masulipatam is a center of intense trade activity. That's why the Dutch and the English East India Company attempted to control it, as it became the most important port on the Andhra coast. And one fort was also built at Masulipatam by the Dutch. So from the trade purpose, commercial point of view, it was very important. That's why the Dutch and the English East India Company wanted to control it. Now the next one is strategy adopted by Golconda rulers. Now the Qutub Shahi rulers of Golconda imposed several monopolies on the sale of textile. Now what does this word mean, monopolies? It means a single seller, where only one seller is in the market who can sell a particular commodity. So Golconda rulers made a rule that only they can sell textile, spices and other items to people, and they did so to prevent their trade, because they were scared that if they did not prevent their trade, or if they did not impose the monopoly, then all the trade went into the hands of the East India companies. तो उनको डर लगता था कि अगर उन्होंने कंट्रोल नहीं किया ट्रेड पर, तो जो ट्रेड है वो सारा ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनीज की हाथों में चला जाएगा. दैट्स वाई दे imposed monopoly on the sale of items. After this, there were so many traders who involved in competition. So the fierce or a strong competition among various trading groups such as Golconda nobles, Persian merchants, Telugu, Komati, Chetis and European traders. However, these traders made the city populous and prosperous, but there was a strong competition among themselves also. Then role of Mughal rulers. Now, as the Mughals began to extend their power to Golconda, because in the time period of Aurangzeb, he wanted to control the southern part of India also. So he wanted to annex the Golconda also. So they began to extend their power to Golconda through their representative, whose name was Mir Jumla. He was also a merchant, and he began to play off the Dutch and the English against each other. He plotted a game in which he made the Dutch and the English East India Company stood against each other. And finally, he took the advantage of this thing, and Aurangzeb annexed Golconda in 1686-87. Then, new policy of English East India Company. Company established new trading centers which performed political, administrative and commercial roles. Here you can see in the map these three new trading centers: Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. And besides serving the trading purposes, they also performed the political and administrative functions. So these were the port towns for the East India Companies. Bombay, present day it's called Mumbai. Calcutta, presently it's called Kolkata. Madras, Chennai. So when these new port towns developed, automatically Masulipatam lost both its merchant, because merchant moved to these new port towns where they got more trade opportunities. So Masulipatam lost its merchant and prosperity and declined in the 18th century. New towns and traders. East India Companies. The English from England, Dutch from Netherlands and French from France. They formed East India Companies in order to expand their commercial activities in the East. They wanted the things for their own country from the east side at the lower price, so that they could get more and more profit. So they started establishing their companies or the new towns in the east. However, initially when these East India Company came to India, that time there were great Indian traders like Mullah Abdul Ghaffur and Virzi Vora, who owned a large number of ships. So they were very rich and even they had ships also. So they competed with the English East India Companies. Hold of European companies. The European companies used their naval power, means they had a fleet of ships, so many ships. So slowly and gradually they started controlling the sea trade route. So they gained control of the sea trade and forced Indian traders to work as their agents. So the Indian traders, they could no longer do the trade independently. Rather, they became the agents of this European companies. And ultimately, the supremacy of English. Ultimately, the English East India Company emerged as the most successful commercial and political power in the subcontinent. Out of these, the English, the Dutch, and French, lot of rivalry was there among these three companies, and battles also took place, and that you will study in class 8th. So ultimately the power was established by the English East India Company in India. Indian cotton textile was very famous in the world because of its quality, and the people who were involved in the crafts of spinning, weaving, bleaching, dyeing, etc. made huge amount of money, because all these East India companies wanted to have more and more cotton cloth. There were a lot of competition among the weavers initially, but gradually, with due course of time, they lost their independence. And how did it happen? British East India Company wanted that Indian weavers should weave cloth only for them and supply to them only. So they introduced a system of advances in which they started making advance payment to the weavers on the condition that the weaver would supply the cloth only to them only. So when the weavers got the money, they became very happy and even accepted the conditions, but the final payment made to weavers was very low, and they lost their independence in selling their cloth to the other company who was ready to pay more money, but they were unable to sell their cloth to them. So, in this way, weavers lost their liberty, and slowly and gradually they were declined also. And moreover, one condition was also imposed on them, that they had to reproduce that designs only which were supplied to them by the East India Company, and all these things were done through agents. Next is new cities. As you can see in this map, in the 18th century, these new cities emerged: Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. And in these cities, British divided the living space into white and black areas. The black areas meant for the native traders and the craftsperson, means for the Indians, and they were confined only to that black town only, while the white rulers occupied the superior residences of Fort St. George in Madras or Fort St. William in Calcutta. So they divided the living space also according to the black and white, because the British people thought that they were superior, uh, and even they believed in racial discrimination also. That's why they divided the area. So this is all for the chapter. Here we finished our chapter. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe my channel and stay tuned for the next video.